Look in a mirror right now. Go on. You know exactly who's staring back. You don't flinch. You don't panic. You just see you. Now imagine you didn't know that. Imagine every time you caught your reflection, your brain screamed one word: enemy. That's not a hypothetical. That's Tuesday for millions of animals on this planet. A fish sees its own reflection in the glass, and within seconds, it's puffed up, fin spread, jaw locked, ready to fight to the death against itself. A bird slams into a car mirror over and over, all morning, every morning, until it's exhausted. Most people assume this is stupidity, a dumb animal glitching out over nothing. But that's not quite right. Scientists have a name for this: mirror aggression. And when researchers actually looked inside the brains of animals doing this, they found something nobody expected. The fear response lit up harder than in a real fight, not less, harder. These animals aren't confused. Something deeper is happening. And by the end of this, you're going to understand why your own brain does something eerily similar. Stay till the end. The last part is about you, not the fish. Let's start with the fish everyone already thinks of: the Siamese fighting fish, Betta splendens. Pet stores warn you, never put two males in the same tank. They will fight until one is dead. So what happens if you show a lone Betta a mirror? It doesn't hesitate. Gills flare out like a cape. Fins spread wide. Body turns sideways to look bigger. Then it charges. It bites the glass again and again. To that fish, there is no glass. There is only a rival male standing in its territory, and that rival has to go. But here's what's fascinating. In 2010, two biologists at Stanford ran an experiment most people never hear about. Julie Desjardins and her team let territorial fish fight two different opponents. One was a real fish through a clear divider. The other was their own mirror image. Then they looked inside the brain, specifically a region called the amygdala. The amygdala is the fear center. It lights up in every vertebrate on Earth when something feels genuinely threatened. Fish, birds, reptiles, you. The fish fighting real rivals showed amygdala activity you'd expect from a normal fight. The fish fighting mirrors showed more. So what killed the difference? Why would fighting yourself be scarier than fighting a stranger? Desjardins had a theory, and it's kind of unsettling. In a real fight, two fish trade blows. One lunges, the other reacts a half second later. There's a rhythm, a back and forth, slightly messy, slightly delayed. That delay is normal, expected, biological, but a mirror doesn't delay. Every move the fish makes, the opponent makes at the exact same instant. No hesitation, no reaction time, perfect synchronization. To a brain wired for millions of years to expect a living creature, that's not confidence. That's wrong. Deeply, instinctively wrong. Imagine you're that fish. You lunge forward, jaws open, and the other fish lunges at the exact same millisecond, mirroring your speed perfectly. It never blinks first. It never hesitates. It's not fighting you, it's you double. The fish doesn't understand mirror, but some ancient part of its brain understands that something here breaks the rules of every fight it's ever known. And broken rules mean danger. So it fights, and it's afraid the entire time. Think about that for a second. An animal locked in combat with something that will never back down, never tire, never lose, because it's a perfect copy of everything it's doing. That's mirror aggression at its purest. But fish aren't the only ones doing this. Birds do it too. And their version is even stranger because it doesn't stop. Cardinals are famous for this. Every spring, homeowners report the same thing: a cardinal outside their window, slamming its body into the glass or the side mirror of a parked car over and over for hours, sometimes for weeks. Why would a bird do this to itself for weeks? Territory. Male cardinals are fiercely protective of their nesting ground during breeding season. When a male sees his reflection in a window or mirror, his brain reads it as a rival male who has invaded his space and refuses to leave, no matter how many times he's attacked. So the bird escalates again and again because in its mind, it's winning every single fight. And yet the intruder keeps coming back seconds later, completely unbothered. Imagine being that bird. You slam into what you believe is an enemy. You know you hit it. You felt the impact. And yet, a second later, there it is again, staring back, unfazed, ready for round two, forever. There's no version of that outcome that makes sense to a bird's brain. So it just keeps fighting. It can't calculate this is impossible. It can only calculate this isn't over. But here's where it gets even stranger, because not every animal reacts the same way to a mirror. Some don't fight at all. Zebrafish are a favorite of scientists for a reason. They're small, they're easy to study, and remarkably, their DNA is surprisingly close to ours. Researchers ran an experiment where they let zebrafish view their own reflection, and something odd showed up. Some fish attacked immediately, aggressively, relentlessly. Others barely reacted at all. So scientists did something clever. They selectively bred the aggressive ones together and the calm ones together, generation after generation. The result? 2 lines of zebrafish. One that reliably explodes with aggression at a mirror. One that mostly shrugs it off. That tells us something huge. This isn't just a dumb reflex every animal has wired identically. There's a genetic dial controlling how strongly an animal reacts to seeing itself. Some brains are built to see threat everywhere. Some aren't. And that dial doesn't just exist in fish. So if mirror aggression isn't universal and it isn't random, what's actually going on underneath it? What is a mirror actually testing? This is where the story flips, because there is one thing almost every mirror attacking animal has in common. They don't know it's a mirror. As far as their brain is concerned, that is a real, separate individual. Scientists have an actual test for this. It's called the mirror test, developed by psychologist Gordon Gallup in 1970. He put a small, odorless mark on an animal's face, somewhere it could only see in a reflection, then show it a mirror. If the animal reached up to touch its own face, trying to investigate the mark on itself, that meant something enormous. It understood the reflection was it. If the animal instead tried to touch or attack the mirror, treating the marked figure like a stranger, that meant it had no concept of self at all in that reflection. So which animals pass? Almost none. Chimpanzees pass. Some dolphins pass. Elephants, some magpies, a few others. That's basically it. Out of the millions of species on Earth, everything else, from bettas to cardinals to most mammals you can think of, looks into a mirror and sees a stranger every single time. There's no learning curve, no moment where it clicks. The fish that's attacked its reflection for a year will attack it again tomorrow with the exact same fury as the first day, because recognizing that's me requires something most brains simply don't have: a working model of your own self, held in your mind, separate from what you're seeing. Now here's the part that should give you chill. You weren't born with that either. Human babies fail the mirror test too. Put a mark on a baby's forehead before 18 months old, and they'll reach toward the mirror, not their own face. They see a strange baby staring back and reach out to touch it, the same way a betta fish snaps at glass. Somewhere between 18 and 24 months, something clicks in the human brain that never clicks for almost any other species on Earth. A sense of that reflection is me switches on. And once it does, it never turns back off. You don't remember the moment it happened. Nobody does. But it's the reason you can walk past a mirror today and feel nothing at all. Not fear, not confusion, not an urge to fight, just recognition. So instant and automatic, you've probably never once thought about how strange it actually is. Most animals on this planet never get that switch. They spend their entire lives one reflection away from a fight they can never win, against an opponent that will never stop, because that opponent is simply everything they are, staring back. And you get to look at the exact same phenomenon and see nothing but your own face. Somewhere out there right now, a fish is flaring at glass. A bird is slamming into a window. Both of them locked in a battle against themselves that they can never understand and can never end. And the only difference between you and them isn't intelligence or size or strength. It's one quiet switch, flipped sometime before you could even walk, that lets you finally see yourself instead of a stranger every single time you look.